Continuing with women part, actually it's part 11, I think. 10, part 11. Part 11 is Takeshita Shizunojo from the book Far Beyond the Field. And the last poem we read, she was earning a pittance is what I earn, along with frequent heat rash. Then she says, unconcerned with the tenant farmer's dispute, rice plants have grown. Unconcerned with the tenant farmer's dispute, rice plants have grown. All right, so the unconcerned with the tenant farmer's dispute, the rice plants have grown. So despite whatever the problems are,
the work that works.
the plants have continued to grow. She says, fire on the mountains between heaven and earth, darkness as ever. Fire on the mountains between heaven and earth, darkness as ever. On an October day, I saw off a friend who had been drafted because of the war with China. On an October day, I saw off a friend who has been drafted because of the war with China. All right, so we're coming to the war. The Japanese are fighting China. Autumn rain comes, making his heavy uniform even heavier. Is that the same poem?
It seems like the Persians and the Greeks fighting China, so large, and Japan quite small.
It's like Greece fighting Persia. Yeah, why does Japan attack China?
And China is so powerful.
Why does...
And Alexander the Great good, but Persia everywhere, so
why does
things happen.
Dear, why does Japan attack the United States?
Oh, that was not Japan.
Japan attacked the United States.
That was Second World War. Everybody was.
As they awaken a sleeping giant, first of all, they think they get a little advantage by destroying a few ships, and then they said that was like crazy because when big attacks, small attacks big. How smart is that? If a little kid comes up and starts hitting you, is that smart?
Oh, you don't take the kid and kill it. You just walk away. You say something. You hold it.
Well, anyways, we won't go into politics. We're not covering politics.
Behind words, politics.
Well, we're reading Takeshita Shizunojo, Japanese woman, haiku poet of 1887 to 1951. So she says, in the mosquito's buzz, a thread of thought begins in my mind. In the mosquito's buzz, a thread of thought begins in my mind. Remember how I read from Isha? Isha says, when the mosquito comes, attacks me near my ear, doesn't he realize that I can hear him? Remember the other book? Isha said, why does the mosquito, I'll quote from Isha, he says, mosquito at my ear, does it think I'm deaf? Oh, we put a little Ishaism, Ishism. Mm-hmm. Isha. But she says, in the mosquito's buzz, a thread of thought begins in my mind.
It's somehow the sound avoided the footage.
Now she says, stubbornly refusing to buy a diary. This woman, that's it. She's not stubbornly refusing to buy a diary, this woman. Grief and anger. I spit out black watermelon seeds. Grief and anger, I spit out black watermelon seeds. Oh, grief and anger. Cowherd shining in the sky. On the earth, a woman bowed under a pack of food. Bowed under a pack. Cowherd shining in the sky. Cowherd. I don't know how a cowherd shining in the sky. Cowherd is cows. A woman bowed under a pack of food. I don't know. Let's see what it means here. Written in 1949, according to legends, the July 7th is the only night of the year when two heavenly lovers, the cowherd Altar and the weaver maiden Vega, are allowed to meet. 4 years after the end of the war, there was still a severe shortage of food in urban areas. So that kind of explains it there. It says, cowherd shining in the sky, on the earth, a woman bowed under a pack of food. And we get to the footnotes. Says it has become the time for sunflowers to bear seeds because the poem was written in 1930. The sunflower may stand for the poet who has regained confidence in haiku. She's talking about the big. Now she's talking about when we talk about the bending sunflower. Let's see. We'll go back. No longer seeking a sun, a magnificent sunflower. Now I'll read this other poem. My husband gone, flakes of spring snow out of a blue sky. And the footnote says her husband died in 1933 when poet's husband suddenly died of brain hemorrhage. Inhaling urban dust and turning it into flesh, a May carp. Now the carp, it says, a May carp is a carp-shaped banner hoisted outside the house on May 5th, Boys' Festival Day, by a family with a little boy. A carp, one of the most vigorous fish, symbolizes health and strength. Alright, so now we go back to the poem. We have this banner hanging on the boy's house. Inhaling urban dust and turning it into flesh, a May carp. Now, the boy is inhaling urban dust and turning it into great strength and health. Something like that. We're reading from Takashi.
Or maybe the fact that we come from dust, the beginning of evolution, dust to dust.
I don't know. But we're recircling back to reading Takeshita Shizunojo. She, with a husband and 5 children. She had 5 children. She wrote in the 20s, short summer night, shall I? Oh, I don't want to read that one. She quoted and expresses, she worked in the library. When did she work in the library?
After she died.
Okay, she worked in the library. After her husband died in 34, she subsequently took a job as a librarian. That would be, that's later in 34. 35, 34, she's almost 50 years old. She writes, which poem do you like here? Let's see. Seashells on the, well, here it is. Seashells on the table, concealing the melodies of the deep sea. Here's that one poem again. Library at dusk, playing in the spring twilight. Elves out of the books. Here's those dumb menfolks, smelling of sweat. I go and join them. Is he going to join them? A pittance is what I earn, along with frequent heat rash.
What did you do?
Because there's no more to read because I finished. We're done with. We're done with. I think we're done with this one. Oh, I'm gonna finish. Okay. All right. This is part 11 of female haiku poets. We've already come to modern times. Is this modern times? And we got the book. It's called Far Beyond the Field by Makoto Ueda, translator from Simply E, New York Public Library.